This is about IFS therapy and coupling it with Christianity. Many people have asked, how does this play out in a Christian's life? And I'm going to start with using my shoplifting story as an example, okay? So if you're struggling with performance, anger, resentment, bitterness, lying, manipulation, whatever it is, it's going to cause you to act out. Most often it will give you a reputation without your permission. And I've been known to be a little bit rebellious or snarky when it comes to authority. And a lot of people do preaching from the pulpit against those that defy authority. But let me give you some backdrop. Let me take you to the green room, if you will, because there's always a source and origin of when bad behavior is created. So essentially we want to take my shoplifting part, which is basically a manifestation. That's just the symptom, right? But what is it really beholding? That part really needs the most prayer, okay? So the part of me that feels as if I need to rebel, or I'm infuriated, or I'm incredibly sad, it might not even know all the layers, but you can sense in yourself that even if you've fasted and prayed, this issue is surmounting or it's not going away. That's a part of you. It's a brain pathway that actually needs some attention, some love, if you will. Because if you're used to saying, cut it out and praying it away, or God forbid, ousting it and taking authority over it, you're in some struggle. Okay, so back to my story. When I was talking to this part of me that had just left a prayer meeting and somebody suggested that they needed to do deliverance because I had a rebellious spirit, I recognized that I was wasting time by trying to explain to them that that part was essential to my survival as a child. So they couldn't listen because of their problems. And I'm going to tell you how that was worked for my good, because I spent time with this part. This part looks like a little Angie. So parts will show up as caricatures, colors, shapes, forms, somatic feeling. We just lean into it. So I saw her and she was in this sterile stainless steel kitchen and everything was pristine. And I was like, wow, this is like, what's going on here? And she was like, I have been giving a task. And yet they already set me up because they know it's not going to be able to happen when all I have is these eggs. So she had these eggs, and every time she tried to like crack one, it would fall to the ground. So now she's standing upon all of these broken eggshells. And I'm like, instantly, I get it. You've been walking on eggshells your whole life. And she's like, yeah, no kidding. And I'm like, please tell me, elaborate. What is it that you really feel you're trying to do inside of me to help me? And she's showing me how she's lobbing these eggs at people, began in the family of origin, and how it's escalated throughout my life to where I want to find a surrogate family, which is the church community. And all these people who look so perfect and well together, and they look like whitewashed tombs, and everything is so perfect in this kitchen. And here she is, and she's left by herself to clean up this mess. I'm like, can you now relate to me some moments in history where you had to show up for me and be this fierce and fiery? Hence the fire in the background, because she was furious. She's furious about all the boxes that she's been placed in, because if it wasn't done from A to Z according to these PowerPoints of somebody else, then she somehow was deemed dangerous. So she took me back to a memory where, lo and behold, my parents said, it's cleaning day, you're lazy, took my sheetie that I sucked my thumb and fingers with and had since the crib and chucked it in a trash. Now, my little 5-year-old self was like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna survive without sheetie? So as soon as the parent was out of the room, I'm taking every risk. It's absolutely worth getting in serious trouble. Fear of punishment at this juncture was like, that's going to comfort me anything more than anything else in this household. So I snuck into the trash, retrieved sheetie, and cut it into 100 pieces. Why? Because my little part inside of me was thinking, I'm going to protect all of these vulnerable feelings of being ripped off and scolded and lorded over in a harsh manner. And I'm going to make sure I have pieces of this comfort all over the house. So in any juncture when I'm feeling the heat from the authority, I'm going to have a place to escape, find my little piece of sheetie, suck my fingers and thumb, and be okay. All right. Well, you can only imagine that that was a wonderful resource back then. And then this following day, the parent comes to Angie and says, okay, fine, you can get out of the trash. Well, it was already cut up into a million pieces. So essentially, this represented the betrayal that came from the parent. And in a child's eyes, it always starts with the parent, because that parent is now no longer trustworthy. In its harshness and the way it revoked something that was very important to me, I assimilated mistrust and doubt onto that authority figure. And I walked away with isolation, the need to protect myself. I cannot be real. There's no way that I could express what I really did. I couldn't come forward with the truth. So manipulation, lying, and this need to get back to what was ripped off from me. Basically, I was stealing what was stolen. I was justified. This is what goes on in our little minds. And this is what happens when a part comes in to make sure that we do not self-destruct by the time we reach adulthood. And so this part was formed and it was made, and it picked up speed along the way. So here we are 4 decades later, and I'm still feeling its vehement power when somebody else has an inkling of ridicule or some kind of thumb that they want to press me down under if I don't comply with their rules and regs. So I had to go to this part. I've met with this part many times, but now I said, I get it. I sat with this part, and I'm like, to the fullness of all that you've helped me in for the many years in which you have rose up to the occasion, whether it's rebellious, whether it's infuriation, whether you're burning bridges with every kind of friend I've had. Thank you. Because without you, I wouldn't have made it. And I am so honoring right now. I'm so full of gratitude because I understand why this sterile environment of perfection and performance is putrid to you. And with that, she starts cleaning up these eggshells and putting them in a trash can that looked just like the very one from childhood. And she walked around the counter and she dumped it down the garbage disposal. And when she lit that thing up, everything was clean, so sparkling that a big shine shimmered across the entire scene. And then she turned and she looked at all the memories from that first source and origin of pain until now. The time where I stole my prom dress. The time where I stole from mom because I knew she was lying about something. The time where I took this and took that and I felt like it was my right. And then I suffered with shame and guilt afterwards. All of the ways in which she had been infuriated with everybody else telling her that she needed to fix it because she was Humpty Dumpty that fell off the wall and was laying there in a million pieces. She said, my brokenheartedness, that's what I need freedom from. She's like, I'm walking away. And she was able to leave all of these scenes. And right there in that kitchen, which is a brain pathways imagination that we use to give it structure and strength, she walked away from all those people, all those memories, and she walked into a huge, great room where there was a fire. I was there to reparent her. I gave her a blanket. She snuggled up on the sofa and she's looking out the window with snow falling. And I asked her, what positive quality, what essence of who you really are do you want to behold? And she literally said, I want restoration. And she opened up her Bible and she was just sitting there reading the word. It wasn't in a community that she had chased for so many years. It wasn't in going to somebody else and asking them for prayer. It was her and a relationship with her Savior and myself being right there. The entire decade, 4 of them, that had built up all of this judgment from others and in and of herself was laid to rest. And we call that a spontaneous unburdening, because she knew that if I heard her and I understood her, it was time for her to stop holding on to that pain. And that is how we set the captives free with inner healing.